Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting of the Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority for August 17th to order. Our chairman and vice chairman are not with us today, so the first order of business will be to elect a chairman pro tem. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I move that Gary Miles be appointed chairman pro tem.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote on the machine. Thank you. And the motion is approved. Chairman.
The fastest railroad job in history, I'll tell you. Thank you. Moving on to the agenda, since the chairman and vice chairman are both gone, we have no items from them. The minutes of July 20th.
Move approval.
Second.
Any comments, corrections, or changes? All in favor, cast your vote. Motion approves. Consent docket. We have 5 items on the consent docket.
Move approval of all 5.
Any questions or comments on any of the items on the consent docket? Cast your vote. Let's approve unanimously. Item 5 is primary agenda items. Item A is approve agreement between the Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority and the Sure Beats Walking LLC for the Segway tours on the river trails. Pat, you want any comments on this? We went through a kind of a little trial period with them, and I understand that's gone very well.
We did. It has gone well. The park staff has been pleased with the progress, and as a result of that test period going well, this agreement before you is essentially a going forward under the essentially the same terms and conditions. But I would say, and Mr. Gray could attest to this, I think, but the park staff, city staff has been pleased with the progress. Citizens have received the service well, and the recommendation is to approve.
Any questions? I need a motion. I have a motion and a second. Cast your vote. It's approved unanimously. Congratulations. Keep them running out there. Item B, I understand we're going to request a deferral on B. Does everybody understand we're deferring that? No, you didn't. Okay. There was some, well, Pat, why don't you give us a background on why we're going to defer this or request to defer it?
Well, this was probably an example of an efficient staff being slightly too efficient. There were some review processes and procedures that were bypassed. This will allow the staff to go back and go through those procedures, perhaps visit this agenda item with the Development and Water Use Committee. There are some agreements in place already that this needs to be tested against and some other things that need to be looked at. So we think this is probably the best bet is to simply defer it at this time, come back, go through those processes, and then bring it back to this body at a later date.
Okay. Does everybody understand?
Indefinitely deferred?
30 days, I understand. It's 30 days worth.
To the next meeting, which is September 28th.
Okay. Motion to defer this till September 28th.
So moved.
Cast your vote. And that is deferred.
Thank you.
The applicant was informed of that. Is the applicant in the audience by any chance? They were informed of it. Okay, all right. They were aware of that. Item C is to recommend to the City Council approve a revocable permit for the Oklahoma City Boathouse Foundation 2010 Head of the Oklahoma Regatta, October 7th through the 10th. Second. Any comments or questions? Cast your vote. Passes unanimously. You get to do it another year, Mike. Item D is to recommend to the City Council we adopt an ordinance related to the general schedule of fees pertaining to parks. This has to do with fishing and boating, and I understand we have a substitute agenda item that you had in front of you. Revised attachment that corrects some clerical errors on it. Wes, anything you want to put in on this?
This was prompted by some concerns during the budget cycle when the Parks Department proposed the closing of the fish hatchery located north of Lake Hefner. Council decided to keep the fish hatchery open, but they asked that staff go back and secure approval from the recommending bodies to raise the boating and fishing fees equal to approximately 50% of the budget of the fish hatchery, which is $75,000. So Parks took this first to the Game and Fish Commission, and they recommended the rates that you see before you. We think they're rates that are fair and will be, while no fisherman or boater would like rates increased, we don't think there's going to be a significant reaction to these increases. After action today, if you approve it, it will go to the Water Trust and then to the City Council.
Any questions or what?
Remove the item.
Second.
You're moving the amended attachment that was on there that we saw today. All in favor, say aye. Why am I saying that? Everybody cast your vote. I'm getting my meetings mixed up. Bad enough I can't figure out which chair I'm sitting in. Item 6 is a claims docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the claims. Any questions? Cast your vote. Approved unanimously. Item 7 is additional items. Pat, you want to give your Director of Development report?
Mr. Chairman and trustees, the report is in your packets. A couple of things worthy of note, I think. The first item on the report talks about the U.S. Rowing Masters National Championships, and I wanted to draw that to your attention for a couple of reasons. One is this is somewhat historic in that it's the first time Oklahoma City will have held this particular event. The other is that the nature of the event in terms of demographics is somewhat unique. It is basically rowers of the 20-something set to the 70-something set. These are folks who travel all around the country. Rowing is their avocation, their passion, and it is something that they do as a form of recreation for themselves and their families. So typically, when an event of this nature is held, we see large numbers of visitors, guests, and a relatively high per capita expenditure rate. So needless to say, the Boathouse Foundation as well as the Convention Visitors Commission are all very pleased with that having been done, and I think Mike Knopp is here and could probably bring you up to date on more specifics if you like. We did roll one agenda item that was scheduled for this month over till next month. That is the negotiation with City Care for the Crystal Lake compound. Their legal counsel had not had the opportunity to complete their review, but they have been in touch with our legal counsel, with our staff. Everything is moving very smoothly. I've been in touch with Steve Zabel, who is their project lead on this particular project, as well as one of their board members, Mark Stonecipher, who's their lead counsel, and believe that we will have something before you at the next meeting, but wanted to let you know and call that to your attention. And lastly, but very significantly, Mike McAuliffe, who happens to be in the audience and whom you all know, has put together a couple of opportunities for us to explore with respect to some shade badly needed shade structures along the river. One in the vicinity of the Dell facility where we do the drag boat races, and then potentially upstream where the Meridian Landing facility has yet to be fully funded and would maybe be a good, at least temporary, if not long-term solution for that. So while Mike happens to be in the audience, I wanted to acknowledge his generosity and that of his partners in this endeavor. It's certainly an indication that the river has come a long way as a civic project when we have people actually coming to us and making that kind of an offer. So if there are any other questions, be happy to address them. Otherwise, would request that the report be received as submitted.
Okay. Mike, would you like to make any comments on your generous offer? I know you have JC with you.
And first, I'd like to, if I may, take this opportunity to thank the trustees also for your support of the Oklahoma City Nationals. I haven't been a friend of this group since that event took place. And just a couple of things to mention that it is the largest powerboat race in the United States, inland powerboat race in the United States. With we had 120 race teams here this past year. They love the venue, they love the city, and we couldn't do it without your support. On August 7th, Versus ran an hour-long special on our race on the Versus Network, and then the Speed Channel also ran a 30-minute show on our race. Excuse me, on our race. So it's nice to get that national exposure, and who would have thunk it that, you know, we'd be the main place for drag boat racing in the United States, but we are, and we hope to maybe keep up with Mr. Knopp and his endeavors with the rowing and kayaking. The shade structures came about, James Simons with USA Shade, which has been a friend of mine for a long time, and you'll be familiar with some of his projects. He did the original structure out at the airport, the covered parking structures, which they've been very happy with, and they installed those some 10 years ago. And so JT was a volunteer at the OKC Nationals. In fact, he manned my hospitality tent all 3 days, volunteered his time, and he was sitting in the sun the whole time. And so, being with USA Shade, we have decided to construct a shade structure that can be used with all the walkers, cyclists, whoever, as well as the Dell employees. They're along that Dell shoreline somewhere. What are the measurements of that one, JT? 24 by 24. So we'll have a concrete pad and the shade structure, and then we can always put some picnic tables under it or something. But as most of you know, there's just a few small trees out there right now, and there's not much shade. And so we will use that the weekend of the OKC Nationals, but the rest of the year, of course, it'll be available for anybody that wants to use it. Also hearing a need at the Meridian Landing where there is no shade, and people waiting for trolleys or waiting for whatever. We have decided to do a second structure there also, of course, meeting whatever specs the city would like. And what's the size of that? We've been working with Genie and Metro Transit. What's the size? 14 by 22. Just so when you get out and walk in, there's that little map display of the trails, but it'll be right there somewhere, and there's already some benches there that will tie into all that. So that's kind of the history, USA Shade and OKC Nationals, and we're happy to do it. And again, we appreciate your support and all you do for the river. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Comments from trustees? Well, we need a vote on the accept the developer's report. I need a motion.
May I ask a quick question about the report?
Sure.
Pat, I just talk a little bit about the decision by County Commissioner Vaughn that they're not going to be able to help build the fire.
Well, that
access
was
road.
their legal counsel at the county determined that that was something that they would not be able to participate in. I don't know the details or the legalities, but for whatever reason, that was the obstacle. There wasn't an objection to the project at all, and quite the contrary. I think Commissioner Vaughn and others felt as though it was something they would like to do if they could, but under the rules and guidelines that they must follow, this was something that their counsel advised them that they could not participate. So we're looking at other funding opportunities, and working with Mr. Knopp and his group, we'll get it funded. We'll get it solved.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Pat? Okay, I had a motion by Kathy. Need a second?
Second.
Cast your vote. And let's accept the report. Comments from trustees?
Mr. Chairman, I had a question of Jeannie, if I may. How are we doing with the weather and everything as far as use of the boats?
Well, actually, July was a pretty good month for us, even with the heat. We advertised pretty heavily that we are air-conditioned.
Okay.
I was down there Friday afternoon, and there were 37 seniors. Fortunately, the boathouse people let them wait inside the boathouse area for the boat, and then they came down and got on the air-conditioned boat, and we're very happy. And a lot of them come in on buses that are air-conditioned also, and then individual, of course. You know, once you get out on the water and you're moving, it's not hot.
Okay,
So
thank
it's
you.
doing pretty well.
Any other comments? Any citizens have anything they'd like to say?
We have, starting next week, I'm Mike Knopp with Oklahoma City Boathouse Foundation. We have the USA Canoe Kayak National Championship. It starts on Wednesday. It goes through the weekend, and we have teams and athletes from all over the country coming, and many already arriving just to kind of get a feel for the venue. So it'll be a little, hopefully not too hot, but they should have a great experience here. As Pat noted, we just did receive word of the Masters National Championship. That news release is going out today, and we do expect that at least 1,800 athletes, or Masters athletes, will be coming to Oklahoma City next August. And so that's very exciting, and we're still on track with the Devon Boathouse opening at the regatta in October. So it's coming together quite nicely. So thank you.
There's a lot of activity going on out there. I noticed I was out there the other night for an event. Somebody had a birthday, somebody near and dear to all of us, but we won't go into that. But anyway, of course, the Devon Boathouse is really taking shape. I mean, I guess you can see the actual shape of itself, and the finish line tower is going up.
Yeah, finish line tower, the first floor is in place. There's 3 more to go, so it'll be going vertical. It's going vertical now. And the Devon Boathouse, a couple milestone, they're filling the tank inside, the rowing tank, and the altitude chambers coming next week. So we got a lot of really cool things happening. If you would like a tour, I'm happy to do that anytime. And the parking lot is now nearing completion. And so still a construction zone, but it's looking better and better. And as Jeannie said, the heat hasn't really slowed down activity in our part. We had a lot of kayakers and people out on the river, so it's a good sign. So thank you.
Okay. Just as an FYI, and I don't have a whole lot of information, but received an email from the city's legislative liaison that the what we call the flyover, the connection, is in the 8-year funding program now with DOT and has a dollar amount attached to it. So hopefully that's some indication that it is going to get done, a little more than what we had before. So I don't know, Pat, you have any other information on that at all?
Yeah, the flyover has been funded. It has been bid, and I believe the award of contract by ODOT is set for either this month or next. So it is on track and imminent, which is a long way from where we were just a few months ago.
Very good. Any other comments? Very good. We are adjourned.